You're fighting blind, so you really need to stick to your style. But now we're going to be jumping in to the first game of our grand finals, ladies and gentlemen. Hellraisers in red, they're attacking. Na'Vi in blue defending. And Oliver, tank pick's already in here as well. We do have the FV4005 for Applewell.
Yeah, interesting pick. We've actually seen a lot more since the kind of Season 1, Season 2 area, especially on Himmelsdorf. It's a real beast. It's very tall. Obviously, the gun does a lot of damage, and it has that alpha, and it's also pretty quick. That's something people don't consider. It can get from A to B quickly, which is something important on this map. Hellraiser's just doing a standard tactic at the beginning, getting the Batchat in the cap, getting some spots out, trying to get control of that zero line as they do push it.
They need to deal with Levshar right now as well. And look how much they're committing to try and get rid of this corner. They need that T-54 lightweight off the map, and they do get him, but look how much damage they're taking as a result. Hellraisers know that to get control of this part of the map, they need that back corner, but Na'Vi are going to set up to make it, well, a punishment for them to even get into that position.
Yeah, they are getting punished quite badly. You can see Na'Vi starting to get a lot of HP together. Some spots going across. Strike does get caught out kind of with his pants down in the middle there, but no damage done. You can see Hellraiser starting to flex around the map a little bit. Applewell has to find some connections, and you know, we saw that in the pre-playoff, in the online stage playoff, in that third, fourth place trying to get to the finals match, that the FV4005 actually was very effective for Na'Vi, for Hellraisers, and I just feel like Apple has to get a good position and a good couple of shots in.
Obviously, this is a British tank destroyer, ladies and gentlemen. Can't do too much in terms of mobility and getting in around the map, so Applewell wants to set up and really start to bring the pain here. And you can see at the moment, now we're seeing a push forward from Na'Vi over at the village, the eastern side. They know they got that first tank away. They know that they did good damage, and now they want to take control of this whole side of the map, so they're going to go for the fight. Now, Power Slide takes a couple hits, but now Nuclear does finally get spotted. He gets melted down. There's so many tanks ready to fire on towards Hellraisers, and Miyahu's going to fall without even being able to get rid of Slide. That's a very worthwhile trade for Na'Vi. Only 4 tanks left here for Hellraisers.
Yeah, and because they have the zero line, they basically control that whole southern side of the map. They can get hold down positions in the Batchats, they can get hold down positions with the FE, and they just need to get this kill here. They do take down Nesqui. They've got complete control of that right side. And only 3 tanks remain for Hellraisers.
So I feel like this illustrates our point a little bit more, Ollie, what we were talking about before. If you don't have a really good attacking side, you are going to get stonewalled out, especially by a team like Na'Vi. Going to make you pay. Griffin there just trying to do a little bit of damage with that TVP, but got no backup really to speak of. Applewell obviously still in the north trying to make some shots. They should collapse on him fairly easier. Lovo trying to move up here as well, but there's not a whole lot he can do at this stage. So already, Hellraisers should be discussing what they're going to be doing on their defensive side. I am definitely interested to see if Na'Vi are able to break them open here, because this is Hellraisers. Now they have to capitulate. There's no chance of fighting their way out of this. Like you said before, Ollie, once you're in the hole, there's no getting out.
Exactly, and I think it's quite a scary situation for Hellraisers, because, yeah, okay, very hard to attack on this map, but we still saw Na'Vi have very good attacking sides, and, you know, just one surprising tactic, something you haven't thought about, can throw a spanner in the works, is Kiriloid does go for Applewell.
Should be able to clean him up pretty easily there as well. Great little finisher tank, the Batchat, and Applewell can't do too much more but wait here as well. So it's time now as well. It's important for Hellraisers to be discussing maybe not what went wrong right now. It's not really an issue they need to discuss until their next map, but also have they seen anything interesting from Na'Vi in this round that might give away any of the game? Are they playing well today? You know, is the guy next to you smelling nice? Whatever, doesn't matter. They need to just relax. But that first round going to go to Na'Vi there. Very strong defense and a great way for them to start things off.
Yeah, easy start for Na'Vi. Can't really argue with that one. Just got control of that zero line, the most important part on this map, and then just played it through pretty easy. You saw there Hellraisers receive quite a lot of damage before that part of the map had even been taken by Na'Vi. So at the early stage, Hellraisers lost a lot. It's kind of normal for Ruinberg that you do lose a lot of hit points at the start, but still it was a little bit too much. Na'Vi just play confidently, don't seem to have any jitters. The analysis desk said it already, they're a very confident team in general.
Yeah, I mean, Ruinberg defense was probably the most safe way to start things off here, especially on the big stage. So you get yourself settled, you just make sure everything's bolted to the floor, basically. Your strategies are all working out nicely. And our Hellraisers, well, they get to do the same now as well. They get to go on defense. There's a few faces that we're pretty familiar with as well. A couple of the Hellraisers players we've seen over with us. Nuclear, Griffin, Applewell in the EU region. So there's a lot of interchangeability between these players, of course, between CIS and the EU. And, of course, Tornado Rocks features Diodor and Luciquel, as we mentioned earlier on, ex-Hellraisers. So these guys definitely passing players in between them. just trying to find the magic mix, I guess, of top players.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, there's such a strong pool of talent in the Russian and European region. You really can just intermix players. There's just a set of like 50, 60 guys who are just unbelievable at the game. They've been playing since Alpha or Beta. They've been playing for top teams since then, and you can just switch them around. Of course, they know each other very well. They've been around for a long time. And I think for the hardest thing for Russian and European teams is just finding another 6 guys who actually work together well with you, especially if you're a team captain. You know, there's always that issue. But in general, we see if you're a team, sticking together for a longer period of time does increase your success at tournaments or cups or whatever you like playing. So it's definitely worth keeping in mind. I would say that's even Hellraiser's biggest weakness in this Grand Finals.
Yeah, you know, it's one thing. There's plenty of talent in this region. There's a big pool to be drawing from as well. It's about chemistry. That's a lot of the problem, especially with some of these younger players. The tendency to get hot-headed is ever present. I mean, take Alien and Castan Crew, for example, as well. I mean, every time they sit and prepare for a game, they say, Alien, don't rage. And then apparently, after someone misses a shot, he's already raging here as well. So, I mean, look, it's high-stakes stuff here. You know, we're not playing around anymore. This is the Grand Finals, of course. But Na'Vi, a ticket to their success has been keeping cool, calm, collected. It's not a matter of getting wrecked and then going, oh, good job, guys. Yeah, we'll get them next time. But it's also about, you know, not making mountains out of molehills where things go wrong for you guys and your team. So, I mean, I really do expect to see the 1-1 here. It's almost as if this is like a teaser to the game. We're going to be even after this map in terms of the way that Ruinberg plays out a lot of the time between top teams. And then we're really going to start to see these guys bring out something special, I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think the most important thing to consider is, well, Hellraisers just need to keep cool. I mean, as you said it, they just need to be okay, and you can see the two teams know each other very well. Yeah. When you're actually listening to the communication of Na'Vi as well, they're the most unbelievably hot-headed, just shouting at each other. You see the Anatoly constantly shouting his team, but it works really well. And you can see Slide there did do the most damage. He pushed along that 0 line with the Batchat and took down a couple of tanks and then just pushed through. Apao had a decent game, a couple of shots out, but not really of much consequence.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, there we go, Ruinberg, it is. We see sometimes in the damage countback high numbers, but they're normally after you've already lost the game. It's kind of after the fact, right? So Apao, yeah, got 2K, but most of it was when his team was already pretty much wrecked. Levshar went down early. That was the point. We saw that first push on towards Levshar in that bottom corner. Now, as an attacking team, you need control of that part of the map if you want to go for any sort of safe capture. Otherwise, there's going to be someone shooting you in the rear end the whole time. So he went down, but the amount of damage that Na'Vi managed to get off the back of that one was what allowed them to ultimately win the game. There's so much room to wiggle here. And you can see, of course, Griffin struggles. He got shut down pretty early. I think he might have even been a part of that first little push there. So quite a few Hellraisers players with very, very minimal damage. It's especially concerning when you see Batchats getting 1 or 2 shots off. You know, really, you want to get at least a clip off. Of course, that being an autoloader, you can fire those 5 shells away. You do really need to make sure that you can get all of them off.
Exactly. You just want to get the initial damage done as an autoloader. I think once you clip once, your team really can't ask for much more.
Yeah.
And that especially counts for a lot on maps like Himmelsdorf, and of course Ruinberg being a kind of semi-city map, it also counts for a lot. But yeah, I mean, not much to read into that first round, and you know, I think at the end of the day, we just got to wait until Na'Vi potentially brings out something on the attack. And the thing is, I mean, if I was Na'Vi and Hellraiser, I'd be like, okay, with the 2 best teams in the world, we're playing along with Goldbass, you know, a pretty untested team at these big finals. We're going to get out of the group stages, realistically. We might as well just play our standard tactic. You could see there Hellraisers with a normal FE4005 push up that northern area. Both the tactics those 2 teams used have been played throughout the entire season. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing extraordinary, nothing new.
If it's not an FE4005, it's a Waffentrager LP100.
Exactly. I mean, these are standard stuff for them, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just continue playing like that, especially against you know, Goldbass. There's no point just doing something so unusual.
Yeah, and by the same token as well, why bring out the big guns at this point? It's like, well, hey boys, I mean, if we lose this, even if you're Na'Vi and you lose this or Hellraiser, you say, well, okay, we'll probably still get out of the groups here. So why would we go for the special stuff now and blow it all before, I guess, maybe a semi-final or a grand final, or who knows? You know, we're talking up these teams a lot here, and they're the 2 on the stage right now as well. We haven't seen much from them quite yet. I think Hellraisers if you want to cast a very critical eye over the way they tried to play that attacking side, I'd say it looked quite uninspired and pretty stock standard. 95% of the losses happened by you trying to go to that zero line and try to get someone out of there. So nothing special for us there on the attacking side. We have seen some incredible stuff from attacking teams, generally speaking, on this map, especially in Europe. But anyway, we've had one game, and I'm sure our boys at the analyst desk will like to talk about that a little bit more anyway, even if to give us just a break now, is this just a couple of things being tweaked on the stage. So, Josh and Co, take us away.
Thank you, Mitch and Oliver. Gentlemen, we got one game in the books right now, and Na'Vi is the winner, but it's just the first one. It's just the first map. I want to talk about the tank lineup that they brought and to see what type of differences Na'Vi had compared to Hellraisers. Dead Zone, go ahead.
Yeah, they played with an Hellraisers actually played with an FV. Na'Vi kind of played, you know, the normal defense, passive defense. They don't maybe want to waste their good tactics yet. They want to see how good is Hellraiser, how is Hellraisers playing, are they up to level? Do I need to, you know, give my good tactics away for this? As you can see, like they're moving with all their tanks, leaving FV in the north on his own to do some damage to distract him. Hellraisers takes a zero line in the beginning, but then they just get outplayed. The AMX-30 is a shield here. You can see that shield for the bat jet. Na'Vi reacts, they push down with 2 bat jets and they just take him out.
How serious is it to line up those shots when it comes to the northern section of the map and to play that type of switch and bait or bait and switch for that tank? I mean, we see that at least in the North American side that it doesn't work about 60% of the time. It usually falls flat. Na'Vi makes it work. What is it about that specific strategy that Na'Vi does so well?
I think this was just a pure gamble by Hellraisers that Na'Vi will not play that offensively on the zero line, but it didn't pay off and they instantly lost because it was, as you said, just a gamble. And we see that Hellraiser had a backup plan with that FETD because that is not front on offline tank. He always goes in the back. He tries to find chances, especially in Ruinberg, when the team is capping and they have to progress. And then he can do those huge head shells of almost 1800 damage and God forbid if it sets on fire. I even seen in games where such a tank can one-shot a mouse when it sets it on fire. So it's like 3k HP gone. And in this case, they will use him even to shoot Na'Vi in the back as they're trying to progress to decap this. But it all fell apart from the start, so they could do nothing about it anymore.
Now, with the FE tanks that are on the battlefield now, they seem like they're quite the powerhouse and for the damage absorption. When it comes to the heavy tank choices versus the lighter medium tank choices on Ruinberg, what type of meta are we seeing shifting over?
It's mainly, we can see by Na'Vi's pick here, they force themselves to play something like a counter-attack. So yes, they play the zero line offensively, but they're ready because of those FE heavies. They have a decent cooldown and they have huge DPM compared to the other tanks and very accurate guns. So once one team is capping, they can actually just push, and if they're facing Clippers, if they don't die instant, they will win any game. And that's how they do it in big groups.
But it's outrunning those Clippers.
Yeah, what Na'Vi did, they saw the FV405. It's been used a lot in the North cap. So Na'Vi first, you know, played more towards the North, played more passive with their bat jets, wanting to see what is Hellraisers going to do in the North. When they saw that they were going south, they reacted quickly to it, pushed down the zero line with the cover of all of their tanks, and they just took it back.
Now, in your mentality, playing on a stage like this with your best mates, your best teammates when it comes to competing in World of Tanks, the pressure's definitely on. Each of you have been in that type of scenario before, but Raven, after your first loss in a game, what's going through your mind and what's going through your team's mind in order to overcome that loss and to come back in the next map?
I wouldn't say they are especially worried because, after all, it's a Ruinberg attack. It's really hard to win. We saw Na'Vi playing standard defense, just send 3 FVs and batchets to the middle village. Because from that village you can cover the A-line push, you can make like 2k damage easy with the FVs crossing. You can also cover the K-line push, so the south push, with batchet spotting and FVs again shooting. So yeah, really hard. Hellraisers lost too much HP.
Yeah. Well, they will have a chance to defend as we're going to flip sides for this map. Waiting for final confirmation on both of our 2 teams to be ready to go. But I know our commentators are ready to go. Let's throw it back to Oliver and Mitch.
Thank you very much, gents. Probably the only group of people I know that could stretch out analysis after one map for so long. So 10 out of 10, please. Not too bad at all. It does appear that some of those issues have been resolved as conversation does continue on the stage here as well. But, I mean, first round, possibly the most standard way for a Ruinberg round to ever conclude, Ollie. Now we're hoping maybe to see a little bit of a different one here as well. Na'Vi on the attacking side here, a team who boasts a good win percentage on the attacking side here as well. So perhaps something a little bit different from them. But again, like we discussed, unlikely these two teams are going to go for the special tactics at this stage. So maybe just let it be the 1-1 and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Just move on to the next map. That's what we see a lot of teams doing. Just do the best you can and just see what happens. And of course, Tornado and Kazna play on the side stage, 1-0 to Tornado and Himmelsdorf, while we do wait for that one play issue to be fixed on the main stage. But yeah, I think we've said everything we can about the Ruinberg and attacking round, defensive round. Kazakur now on the attacking side on Himmelsdorf on the /WGNA stream. We'll obviously be keeping you up to date on the side stage streams as we do go through, of course, the top two teams from each group going through, and a pretty hard group for those guys. I mean, Tornado has been such a great team the whole season. It's going to be a hard game for Kazna.
Yeah, they seem confident. I think they really wanted the chance to play against them actually at the European finals, but obviously that was not an opportunity afforded to them, just the way things kind of worked out. They got knocked out before they got to play them, and then, yeah, Tornado got wrecked in that final. So we still don't really know what Kazna versus Tornado Rocks looks like offline. So that going to be interesting to see how that one does resolve. And this one as well, of course, is a rematch from the CIS region. If you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, you haven't really missed too much. It's just been one round down. And a little bit of a technical hiccup on the stage has given us a chance to really just stretch our knowledge of how Ruinberg rounds work out. But again, it will be Na'Vi to go on the attack side after winning the first round. So we'll just get, like we discussed, going to be a 1-1 after this one as well. Now, I mean, let's talk about Na'Vi player-wise as well, Oliver. I mean, they've kept this same roster for, 1.5 years here. Now, any concerns with you or any doubts about form of individual players here as well? Because you often see that sometimes a team can cling on to those players just maybe longer than they need to. Do they need a refreshment, or are they looking pretty darn good with the current setup?
I would say they look pretty good with the current setup. I mean, they do know when to make refreshes. I mean, of course, Dulux stepping back into the manager role was a big deal for them.
I think it's because he dropped the trophy at
almost dropped the trophy in 2014, almost took down his whole team. That would have, of course, caused some refreshes, some roster changes. But yeah, I mean, that's why we have a lighter trophy, just in case the players end up dropping it on the head and just killing themselves. They've got to be careful there. But yeah, I think with Na'Vi, I mean, the Anatolik obviously taking over the in-game leading role. You see him screaming down his comms all the time. Very interesting player, obviously, from the Red Rush.
Like he's getting endoscopy sometimes with how far down his throat is.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I wonder if he's got his tonsils removed just so he has a little bit more ease of access.
More clearance for the mic.
Exactly. But yeah, pretty insane. And Spyro, he's always been an interesting one to me. And obviously an insane artillery player. That's like the interesting thing. Kiriloid and Inspire like to pick up that artillery sometimes. He's seen some fantastic shots from Kiriloid. I'm interested to see if artillery is going to feature in this one. And of course, I mean, we've had 9.14 as well with those sound and physics changes.
What about Strake and Slide as well, Alila? What are your thoughts? Like, in the past, heralded as pretty much absolute superstars of the game all the world over. They still got that edge?
Yeah, they definitely have. I mean, the interesting thing there is that Strake was the master, and Slide was the Padawan. Now it's exactly the opposite. Slide overtook him. He actually got invited from Red Rush Team 2 to Red Rush Team 1 when everyone realized he was an absolute beast. And he's the guy who you can always rely on to get these one-on-one situations done and dusted, or even 2-on-1, 3-on-1 we've seen from him. He's kind of like the Apple Wow from Hellraisers. And he doesn't break. He's consistently doing the highest damage. I think when we see Na'Vi lose, you'll still see Slide at the top of the damage board, which is obviously very important. The rest of the team will do very badly. For instance, at the Continental Rumble, he was the only guy who played well.
Yeah, was pretty average actually for them at that event. People were wondering, like, that's when people were wondering, are we going to see a change up here? Is Na'Vi slumping? Is there problems here that need to be addressed at a deeper level? But no, they've kept the same roster, and it seems to have done them fairly good. I mean, and let's even look over at Hellraisers now, Oliver, as well. I mean, do we really see a big change to them? Obviously losing Luciquel and Diodor. Obviously, Applewell joined them, who was part of School Bus, if we remember, in the EU region. A lot of players in and out. That's the man himself, if I'm not mistaken.
Who, sorry?
What's the changes with these guys? Of course, with Luciquel and Diodor actually leaving to Tornado Rocks there. I mean, do you think they're more well-rounded now? Are there jagged edges that need to be filed down?
I don't think so. I think I think Lucic and Dido actually got removed from the team as opposed to moving over to Tornado. I think it's more of a mutual agreement. I think Nuclear was extremely effective player. Okay, the analysis does seem to disagree, but I mean, at the end of the day, he just needs to settle in the team and try and play as well as he can. He's kind of like a breakneck that's waiting to happen.
Wow. It could either be very, very good or very, very bad, whichever way you want to take it. Na'Vi now on the attacking side in that blue, and in the red will be Hellraisers now. Tank picks as well. A lot of FE215Bs for Hellraisers. Na'Vi coming in with a triple 113 though.
Yeah, interesting. 113 obviously been very heavily featured in the last season with tier 10s. A very effective tank all round. Doesn't really have that many weaknesses, apart from the fact that when you get shot, your crew goes down, your engine gets on fire,
toys out the pram.
Ammo rack just goes everywhere. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's a little bit of a roll of a dice in that respect. Levshard with the AMX-30 just pushing straight across in that tier 9, trying to get some early spots, and yeah, it's a bit of a more of a passive start. Nesqui does receive a lot though.
Yeah, and look, Monty's going to be harassing from that corner as well for the whole game. Nesqui probably didn't have to take so much damage there as well as a defending Batchat, but yet he seems to have exposed himself to some shots coming in. So again, if Na'Vi want to proceed in, I guess, the same way, they need to really much hold down. They're actually pushing towards the north here for a cap, and simultaneously 3 113s here in the middle of the map. Monty trying to reset, gets a shot towards Rhino, but they're pushing off this cap now. A lot of those tanks in the north you can see on the minimap. Na'Vi getting in position now. Nigu knows this already, having to back away, but out in the open is not where the 62A shines. It's got a great turret, but it's very, very vulnerable. But here's the main brawl happening in the middle of the village. These 113s now getting to grips with most of Hellraisers. Looks like they're outmatched.
The FE215Bs will just blow apart those 113s. The DPM's a lot higher, 2.5k HP to play around with. They're just getting absolutely blown away. Na'Vi starting to trail.
Yeah, Na'Vi have north control, but they lose the bulk of their force here in the middle of the map. There's just Power Slide left there in that 113, and there's no damage really forthcoming from the rest of Na'Vi set up in the north. It's not as if they've set up some sort of crossfire situation. They've sort of thrown one amount of tanks into the frying pan, the rest in the north into the fire. They've got to now back away. You can see Inspire, Strake, Kirillod heading for the hills here as they've lost the bulk of their force. Now, that was supposed to be a flanking force, a secondary force, or at least to establish a strong position in the middle of the map. But Na'Vi, it's very, very strange pushing those 113s in for the fight in the middle. Were they trying to distract so they could get north position? Because they just seem to have shot themselves in the foot.
Well, you put 130s in the cap, you make the other team come closer to you because, of course, they have to get into position to reset. And then you push the 113s out of the cap into that right side. It's kind of an obvious tactic in the fact that if you really wanted to cap, the 113 makes no sense. You have an IS-7. It's a lot better at surviving. So Hellraisers saw it perfectly. They saw that when the 113s were coming out of the cap, they just push out, come around, flank, and take them down.
So Kirillod, they're struggling to penetrate on towards that, I think it was an FE215B in the AMX-30. Don't always see them picked up in that tier 9 slot. Quite often, actually, teams will take Double Conqueror, or maybe they'll pick up a tier 8 or something different like that. But this time, seems to be the plan. Obviously, they got pretty much wrecked. Kirillod still in one of them here as well. It's the other option. You can get the Lorraine 40 or you can get the AMX-30 at tier 9 there as well, which is not an auto-loaded tank. It's not part of that auto-loaded medium line. Haven't really seen too much from them in this round to really justify their position, perhaps.
No, and this is the interesting thing about Na'Vi. They don't ever give up. Most teams would have, okay, they might have retracted back, but they would have already gone for another push somewhere else because they know the game is pretty much over.
Sure.
Na'Vi doesn't do that because they know, okay, we probably won't win this round, but at some point in this tournament, we're going to be in the same situation, and the other team's going to have that mind game. You know, like what will they do? I mean, they know that Na'Vi will never give up. They know that Na'Vi will never push in stupidly. So they got to play 100%, or maybe they think they don't have to play 100%. So there is a bit of an issue there for a lot of the teams looking at Na'Vi. And yeah, I think they're just going to end up pushing in here, though, from Hellraisers. Nuclear just with a good side-scraping position. This is, of course, a very key position on the map on Ruinberg.
Yeah, what we're seeing at this stage really is Na'Vi, you can see how far behind in health points they are from the top of the screen. So they're about half, and you can see they've got about half the tanks. They don't have a lot to work with here. What they're hoping for at this stage is to gain some information, maybe try and break through. This is not necessarily a surrender at all by them. They're very much, you can see Kirillod still looking for damage. I mean, the AMX-30 can definitely hit pretty hard, especially against a T-54 lightweight as well. Not exactly a durable tank at all. So Monty picking out a little bit more than he otherwise ought to have, but for the most part, Na'Vi, they set up in towards the middle of the city. They want to bait engagements that they're going to win and try and fight their way back out of this hole.
Yeah, they are just trying to make Hellraisers make the mistake. I mean, 3,476 HP to 6,554. It's not a massive difference. And with these tier 10s, you'll see this swinging of HP happening a lot more, especially with a couple of bat chats.
Volatile.
They'll just be able to throw you the other direction. You got 2k potential damage from both these bat chats in one clip. And it does look like Na'Vi, though, they are committing.
They're going to push forward here, maybe looking for Nuclear. Again, these matches want to isolate single targets and take them out. But Strake just wants to push past Nuclear, maybe get a bit of hull down position here. The problem is he's still vulnerable to Nuclear. Now he has to pretty much stand and face fight him. Nuclear, good DPM on that 113, so good alpha, but not going to be quite enough to deal with Strake. So sure, they get a trade, they pick up a tank, they don't even lose one in the process, but Strake is now one shot. He can't leave this position without being shot as he crosses to the middle road, so he essentially now becomes part of the landscape. He just has to sit and hold. Now we have Inspira. Now, a bat chat, if you want to go into a fire with a bat chat, you need a lot of health, right? You need to be able to get a few shots off. You can expect the enemy to shoot you once. Now, Strake got out of there without being spotted, if I'm not mistaken. I think he snuck away, at least until the last moment. So that's good. It's a low-profile tank. Sneaky little bat chat gets away. But again, he now has to be a sniper. He can't get involved in any fights.
Yeah, that was a nice little blind shot there for Napar. Doesn't quite connect onto the back of Strake. And Kiriloid there with the AMX-30 just trying to find a connection. And they're playing logically. I mean, that was definitely the right decision to go for that 113. Strake got a little bit lucky that he didn't actually get taken down, but it was the right idea. Now, Na'Vi pushing up towards the southern side. The Batchat has been spotted down there. The AMX-30, being a pretty big tank, also got spotted. I mean, the thing is, Hellraisers do have that T-54 lightweight, which they can always just throw into the mix.
Yeah, again, and even if they need to sacrifice the tank to, you know, trade in. I mean, if Hellraisers trade 1-for-1 at this point, obviously numerically that's quite favorable for them here as well. Ideally, when you're this low, you want to be able to get a spot on the enemy team and just fire from a distance and not be spotted yourselves. And you'll know when these tanks are spotted, their names should turn yellow. That's when you'll know that the enemy has detected their presence. It's really important. The players, after a few seconds, will also know that they have been spotted. And you can see that how that affects their positioning once that name goes yellow. We'll see maybe some behavioral changes from them now as well. But this is like a pack of Hornets led by a slightly fatter Hornet. I mean, only more healthy, really. These guys can hit hard and fast, but they can't withstand fire, not even at full health. And, well, I mean, Strake and Inspire have half a Batchat's health between the two of them, really. So Kiriloid is going to have to soak some up. Pretty much no armor to speak of. The French mediums are pretty much paper mache, as it were. Kiriloid's going to go forward either way. And there's Nesqui, sorry, going to lay a few shots, and you can see it here. They've got a crossfire towards Kiriloid. He's pretty much just going to be chunked on down. They've seen Inspire, they know where Strake is as well, and Hellraisers look now to just close the net and finish this off.
The MX-30 is obviously a big tank, so it can go hull down, but it's just got no armor on that turret, so pretty easy to take down pretty quickly, and it's also going to be Inspired to fall to Nesqui. That leaves just Strake there with 33 HP.
Again, so this map pretty much progressing the way we expected it to. Now Strake is going to be caught. Nesqui's on reload here as well. Having to reload multiple shells means it's going to take him 36 seconds or so. So Strake does get some free damage on him, maybe able to finish him off. But again, this is just after the fact. The game's already done. Hellraisers will make it one apiece here. And that's pretty much the bare minimum of what you need to do. You're a top team, you're going up against a team of similar caliber, go 1-1 on Ruinberg and go next.
Yeah, you can see there that Hellraisers only lost a couple of tanks, and Na'Vi got pretty trounced. They tried to get back into the game, use those autoloaders just to force their way into situations, but it's just not enough. Those 113s got taken down by the FE215Bs very quickly. A pretty interesting move, but nothing out of the ordinary for Na'Vi. And once those 113s had gone down, the push up in the northern area at the same time from the Batchats and the MX-30 didn't go too successfully because the T-62A, I believe, of Griffin just immediately snapped into it, got it into a hull down position in the middle, and didn't allow himself to get taken down, which had, of course, given Na'Vi a little bit more time to play around in the north and provide that crossfire effect onto the 113s of their own team.
Because we saw there was the T-62A from the Hellraisers that was in the north. He managed to detect early or spot out the presence of, I guess, half of Na'Vi's force wanting to set up. It's near you right here. So this is the first contact, I guess. He's like, righto, boys, they're pushing. And at the same time, Na'Vi push up in the middle. But look at this overmatch straight away. Look at how much damage they take initially. And they have to fight back from this position in an overmatch scenario, 3v5.
And the interesting thing here as well is that Hellraisers, instead of just pushing straight down the middle of that road, which would, of course, allowed easy side shots onto the FE215Bs, they actually push around the buildings and in a slight defilade, which allows them to kill these 130s with only receiving 300, 600, 700 damage, not very much. So really good timing by Hellraisers to push around. Slide gets around to the side, but you can see the T-62A is just been taken down. Took a long time. You got Nesqui up in the north. with the bat chat, and it's a pretty simple game. So 1-1 after Ruinberg, as we would expect. And yeah, I mean, both teams looking like they want to kind of keep the status quo.
It's pretty clear to see as well that Na'Vi were hoping to use the terrain, I guess, in the topography of that village in towards the east side of the map and get maybe some 1v1s or something instead of going 3v5. But here's your damage. Strake there as well. He did a fair bit after the fact, sort of towards the end of things, but this is what you want. Griffin and Appleware, your FV215Bs, consistent, solid damage. We're getting 11 to 22 shots out. So these guys have, you know, just doing their job as that tank that lays down that sustained damage per minute. Solid stuff from them, really. And of course, the 113 was up there as well. More of the issues start to creep in now. You see down the bottom, it's reasonable to expect your tier 9s to, especially on the losing side, to not have much damage. And yep, that's what we see. Anatolich pretty well shut down that 113. A tank that wants to be able to bounce shots and actually move back and forth and use its armor well. Unfortunately, he was surrounded and couldn't use his angles to any advantage.
You also see there that 2 113s just had no damage done at all. They just got taken down. Slide just taken down. The Anthology said just got taken down. And very simple stuff from them. Okay, the MX-30s you can excuse. They're just a decently high HP tank with decent alpha, decent DPM, and also mobile enough to actually keep up with the bat chats. But yeah, I mean, I think for Na'Vi, you can see both the teams seems to be pretty happy with how things went. I don't see any stress on their faces. It's really around the kind of 3-3 mark or the 4-4 mark when you go into that tiebreaker that teams start to sweat a little bit more.
No doubt about it. And of course, we do see teams bringing those tier 9s as it's 768 format. So you have 68 tier points to work with. So we normally see teams rounded out with 2 tier 9s for those of you at home that are maybe wondering why we are seeing tier 9s at all. And it also gives us a little bit more diversity as well. You can go for these tier 9s. And at tier 9 and 10, we talk about how the game can shift so quickly. The tanks are very, very strong. Obviously, the guns are far bigger as well. And we can see these switches in health points quite quickly. So tier 9 still can be very, very effective. We've seen multiple occasions tier 9 sort of being up towards the top of the charts. But normally, Oliver, we see them played as conquerors, so steel walls, or to soak up a bit of damage if they possibly can. Or, again, as scouts, AMX-30s or something similar, just to try and be supplementary and gain information.
Yeah, actually, we see quite often tier 8s being the top of the damage dealers. Okay, like tier 9s, like Conquerors, okay, on Ghost Town, we like to see them do well, and we do see them do well quite often. And but it's like the RU251s who can kind of sneak their way into these damage boards.
Yep.
And it's always going to be interesting. I mean, tank lineups at the grand finals are always definitely something to keep your eye on. I mean, like, okay, last year everyone was like, yeah, T54 lightweight was banned, and everyone's correct, of course. You know, T54 was predominantly used, T32s occasionally, RU251s with the HE 320 damage occasionally used, but it was all the T54 show. Now, 768, much more diversity.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to check out map 2 for this match. It's going to be Mines.
Mines, a small summertime map with lots of hills, rocks and other cover. The teams start the battle in the usual locations, but the base locations are different. One is located in the bottom part of the village, and the other one is in the water. One of the key objectives is the center hill. That's why the teams will often select fast vehicles and tanks with strong turrets for cover.
So, by now, Oliver, I'd like to think we've established that, yes, while Ruinberg is a bit of a one-on-one affair, Mines has the potential to give us some far more interesting situations. I mean, both on the attack and defense, there are multitudes of viable strategies as well. And what better way to see it showcased than here between these two big teams, Hellraisers and Na'Vi. Map 2 is going to be an absolute cracker, Ollie. It's going to be Na'Vi starting on the attacking side here as well. They're still sticking with those 113s, but Hellraisers as well, bringing a trio of their own.
Yeah, everyone loves the 130 on this one. They love the TVPs. But interesting, the T49's coming out with that big derp gun. See if it can actually do a lot of damage. We've seen it being used effectively on Cliff, but Mines, not so often. And of course, the main man, Strike, playing it. And if Strike's playing the tank, you know it's an important part of Na'Vi's tactic.
So Na'Vi push to the hill pretty quickly with those bat chats. They try and take control. You notice that Griffin's coming around the side, and the rest of Hellraisers actually now realizing we need to fight here. There's a couple 113s on the other side of the hill for Na'Vi. This is Power Slide, and he's in an important spot. He is watching people try to egress either up the hill or past it. He should get some side shots, but this is good from Hellraisers. Pushing those 113s forward, they're trying to isolate and shut down Inspirer first, then they can deal with Rhino maybe in the back. This is just, I guess this is just shot calling at its best, really. Focus fire coming down now. You can see pressure up on the hill now as Rhino's trying to escape up there. Maybe the safety of Anatolich might keep him a bit more comfortable. Levshar being chased by Nesqui, who is on reload here as well. 3-shot autoloader. It's a fairly quick reload there for that one as well. So back and forth stuff here. Na'Vi still have the health point advantage, and this little push out from the ocean side might be helpful. They're going to try and sit back as Hellraisers are pushing aggressively.
And those fights actually going very well for Hellraisers on the hill because Nesqui's got that 20-second reload. He's absolutely punishing. He'll obviously go down now, but it doesn't matter. He's kept those Batchats under control. Hellraisers pushing forwards. The HP's very close.
Yeah, and as well, Levshar might be pressured by him in a second. So Strake and Kirilloi now. Strake, a bit of an assassin. It's a one-hit wonder. Does big damage if you can get the penetrating hit there as well. Montiablo takes a hit from Kirilloi there as well, and then he finally gets blown up by Strake on the finish. But there's still Lolfo and Appleware to deal with. I don't know if there's going to be any support for these two tanks here. Hellraisers are pretty much on their own here. They lost the fight in the middle of the map. They're down to just these two 113s now, and you'll see the rest of Na'Vi start to encroach and close this one out.
Yeah, Rhino did a very good job. He went onto the hill to help his rest of the team, even though he knew that, okay, Kirilloi and Strike might get taken down in this lower area. But he helped his Batchats out on reload, and it managed to get control of that very central area. And you could see that. I mean, these 113s have missed like 3 shells from Hellraisers. I mean, these are supposed to be the best players in the world. Yeah, they're shaking like hell. There's definitely not a good round individually from Hellraisers. If those 113s had actually managed to hold their ground, take down Strake, take down the 113, it would have been a totally different story. They would have get control of that middle area again and then move forwards. But they kind of lost it in that situation.
So it's funny actually where we see around here that's balanced on the precipice of purely mechanical skill, not hitting the shots. Hellraisers were the ones being aggressive here, which is generally what they're known for. They pushed over the middle of the hill with those 3 113s. They forced Na'Vi to huddle together for safety on the top of the hill. The problem was when they tried to take down that core of Na'Vi on the hill, they were overmatched themselves. Hellraisers brought maybe 1 or 2 tanks there. We noticed there was a Skoda T50 that was in the mix there, harassing quite nicely. As a tier 9 tank, it's rare to see you draw so much attention away. But unfortunately, maybe not so much attention as Na'Vi was still able to dispatch most of Hellraiser's main tanks.
Yeah, I think that Skoda T50 is going to be an important part of this Grand Finals. I think a very effective tank. Honestly, I mean, I've been playing it a lot lately. I don't see any flaws with it. It's just insane. 20 seconds reload, you just get 960 damage out. And, you know, it's right on that precipice, right? The kind of, the reload it's got, it allows you to do enough damage that you're actually effective, but at the same time not have a long enough reload that you become ineffective, you know? And it's a very important balance to have. Quite often you find yourself, okay, with a Batchat, you get into a situation, you do a lot of damage, then you reload, but that reload's like 5 seconds too long. That never seems to happen with the Skoda T50. You see Kirilloi right at the top there. He was such a fantastic player in this round, almost 5,000 damage, 12 shots. And he was in that low area really helping out his team. And Rhino as well, helping his team in the middle central location, and he definitely gave his Batchats a new lease of life.
So we're seeing Nesqui and Lolfo there as well, featuring fairly strongly in terms of the amount of damage. You see they're getting about 7 shots, is fairly reasonable for tanks that are sort of very much brawling, getting up close in the action. Thought it was interesting to see Strake actually go on that T49. Interesting stuff from that tank. I mean, we sort of briefly glossed over the fact that it's considered an assassin because it has a massive gun on the thing, and it can do a lot of damage if you can actually manage to get it working. So it's 152mm, and it can do like 700 damage with HE, but the problem is it's actually penetrating the armor of some of those tanks. You need to pick your spots carefully, otherwise this highly explosive shell just bounces off and does nothing.
Exactly, and if you use HE, you can do 900 damage as well, like we've seen that before, onto the French tanks, just blowing up one of the Batchats in one shot, no problem at all. And you might even see a couple of mind games from the T49s, as some of the teams like to pick the stock gun, just to force the other team not to go into a certain location on the map. But still, you know, we've seen that on Ruinberg before, we've seen that on Cliff, Prokhorovka, but yeah, I like the derp gun. I think the T49 is a very good tank. Didn't have a massive effect there, apart from on the 130s on the lower area, just keeping Kirilloi in the game with the 113.
Yeah, and that's all he really did. Try to distract attention, and the problem is you can't really ignore a T49, even though you kind of want to as a tier 8. You have to address it. Now we're going to be jumping into the second round on Mines. Now if you have the lead and they get to defend here, Strake is again going to come with a T49. It's pretty much an identical lineup, whereas Hellraisers bring in 2 WZ111s, and of course they're going to have a 50B for Nesqui. Yeah,
it's a pretty heavy lineup actually from them. See if it actually works effectively. I think the 50B is good on this map. Very effective with the WZs. They are a pretty strong tank that can also brawl. A lot of bounce can come off them, but they also do a lot of damage. 490 they can pull out. They are pushing the hill. Hellraiser's really wanting to get control of this one again.
Yeah, again, just inching their way up. They're trying to find out exactly what Na'Vi have lying in wait. Is this going to be a suicide push up the hill, or can we afford to take a bit of damage? They're going to come forward, actually, not even go for the hill. They're going to try and collapse onto the tanks that Na'Vi has here. And Kirilloi getting shots from the side. You saw that earlier on. We have tanks from Hellraisers wrapping around this hill. Levshar and Rhino are going to get pressured right now, and the Pints are really going to come down hard on them. Rhino getting a massive amount of damage taken off of him. Nuclear on top of the hill, adding his own damage in as well. Where's Na'Vi coming from? How do they respond to this? It seems like they've got tanks out of position. There's a Bat Chat on its way. It's coming up over the hill, but Na'Vi may not be able to hold on long enough.
Strike might actually be able to take down Nesqui if he does find a good angle onto him. Obviously, that French tank pretty soft, but yeah, great push here from Hellraiser, starting to lose a lot of damage now.
You see Griffin and Lova, again, there's some covering fire from the back of the map for Na'Vi, but the most of their force had already been collapsed onto by Hellraisers. Inspirer trying to get himself a better position to fight here, angling towards Griffin, but he's going to get hammered either way. The TVP hits hard, but he lives through that shot. Unfortunately, not going to be enough to take down Griffin. He's shot in the rear end, and now only a couple tanks left. The Anatolic Shear, some first-person action for you. He's up on the hill. Note that he's currently on reload. He can't do anything, and Slide is all on his own right at the back of the map.
Yeah, I don't think Na'Vi really expected Hellraisers to be aggressive on both rounds. Of course, the first one didn't go too well, and quite often, actually, we don't see the defensive side being particularly effective when pushing forwards around that lower hill. But Slide, the last one remaining, he knows he's going to go down.
Not much he can do about that one at all as well. I mean, TVP got 4 shots. Unfortunately, that's not quite enough to go around to the rest of their Hellraisers, and that is a convincing victory from them. Very, very solid, Ollie, and we see it kept at 2 apiece.
Yeah, very nice stuff from both teams. I think Na'Vi got caught out a little bit there. The aggression from Hellraisers at the beginning didn't necessarily lend themselves to be pushing down that hill, okay? They were taking control of the middle area, fair enough. But Na'Vi were like, okay, are they going to hold the middle or are they going to push down? Hellraisers ended up pushing down. They knew they had the momentum, they had the location, they might as well just go for it. And of course, they managed to take down those 113s very quickly. The 113, the TVP at the back, tried to do some damage. That was Slide playing it. He did get his team a little bit back into it, but Strike having to run away in the T49 after being engaged by the 50B, you know, it just didn't go very well for them at all. They just got shut down immediately.
This is that first push here as well. And this is where Hellraiser said, nah, bugger the hill. We're going to go straight over the top here. And there's all this time as well, you can see on the minimap, there's a flank happening with a 50B. So Kirilloi just gets wrecked here, and Na'Vi don't seem to know how to respond to this.
Yeah, and actually you got the Anatolic there with the Bat Chat getting completely caught out. It's a tier 10, I didn't see that. Just pushing up towards the northern area. Hellraisers kind of gambled on the fact that maybe Na'Vi would be pushing down or a different location with a faster tank. And maybe if that Bat Chat had been in position, it would have been a different story. But it wasn't. And Hellraisers, of course, gambled correctly. And yeah, it kind of gets itself onto the hill, receives a lot of damage on the way, and it does get taken down a little bit later on in that round.
It's definitely a gamble as well. But again, these two teams know each other. Maybe Hellraisers knew what to expect from that round, and that they used, of course, the fact that Na'Vi were trying to flex. I think it was not only a Bat Chat went to the north side, Ollie, but there was also a 113 that was actually set up a little bit more to watch the waterway. He wasn't on the hill. So again, 2 tanks already out of the equation. So you combine that with Hellraisers pushing with, what, 4, and then there's a flank of a 50B as well, who's amazing at those hit and run attacks. And Na'Vi were already out of the game, I guess, maybe 3-4 seconds into that fight.
Exactly, they were just completely caught out by surprise, and that was game over. So, yeah, I mean, 2 apiece, 1 after Ruinberg for each team, 1 after Mines for each team, simple stuff. You know, Mines, I would have kind of thought maybe one of these two would have been able to bring out 2-0, and to be honest, I think Hellraisers looked better on Mines. They had the stronger attacking round for sure, but they kind of screwed up the defensive round. I mean, they could have won that round, to be honest. And hopefully they just settle themselves here. Nuclear right at the top there with the Bat Chat.
Yeah, and that's what we said. You're expected to get at least 1 clip off. If you get 2 like this man here, you're really going to be carrying your team through the game. Fantastic stuff from Nuclear there, 3.2k. Definitely on the higher side. About 5k is about as high as we normally see in a lot of games here as well. CZ04, T5051 short, that's the TVP 5051, for those wondering. So that's Griffin and Power Slide there as well. So it's Power Slide and Inspirer putting out fairly solid damage, but you can see the list here as well. That fight was where a lot of this damage was done, and you could just see it was mostly on the side of Hellraisers here as well. Very, very important there as well. Nia, you didn't have to do too much there as well. Strake got caught out of the action. You can see I think he tried to eventually challenge Nesqui on that 50B who was flanking around, but Nesqui didn't really care. He didn't seem to be too bothered. Only 484 damage, so that's one hit for Straken, not a great roll at that.
Yeah, and the 50B from the front is actually pretty strong, especially that frontal glacier is definitely hard to penetrate. You can quite often find yourself bouncing it with like 260, 70 penetration plus. You've got to go for the turret, and you got a gun there, which of course you can hit. It can be a little bit unlucky in that situation. But yeah, I mean, you saw Anatolik, 1.3k, really didn't have a particularly good round and got kind of caught out in that situation. In general, I mean, Hellraisers look very aggressive on that one. The thing is, that's normal for the RU and CIS region. I don't think I think Cliff, okay, they're way too aggressive compared to the European teams, for instance, and I think the same goes for mine sometimes. Prokhorovka, they seem to slow it down a little bit, Murovanka as well. So it's interesting that they went so far forwards and just wanted to take the fight straight onto Na'Vi.
That's it. The hand slaps are coming out here now, as well as the teams are getting ready to set up for the next one. Of course, next map coming through for us momentarily as well. A bit of warm-up for these guys as well in between, make sure everything is working and is in tip-top shape. But as it stands, if you just joined us, it's 2 apiece after these last 2 games. As well as an update for you guys, Kazna Crew versus Tornado Rocks is 2-2 after Murovanka just having been played after Himmelsdorf. So that one is definitely a close affair. So 2 absolutely massive games to be kicking things off with as well. And again, this round will be very, very telling. Is this where we start to see a team pull ahead, or will it go 1-1 consistently through the rest of them? We're going to have to find out. It's going to be Himmelsdorf, though. What a great map to see these 2 teams go head-to-head. It's going to be Na'Vi on the attack.
I think Na'Vi's definitely the better Himmelsdorf team. They are really effective at going on the attack. They love to play with that FV, which, of course, Slide is playing, and, being the best player on Na'Vi, he's going to be the most important part of this jigsaw. Rhino with the Waffentrager, 113 as well. Maybe they'll be going for that B-line push where they hold that B-line with a 113 and just keep control of it, allowing the rest of the team to go forwards. But to be honest, it's an old tactic. Every team's found out how to counter it, how to take it down, just by pushing tanks in towards a position in B2. So
yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if Na'Vi has something else up their sleeve.
Again, not bringing the expected lineup. Well, Na'Vi, I guess, they're going to keep with that 110E3 as well. So there's a lot of tank destroyers here for Na'Vi on the attacking side, which might seem strange, but like you pointed out, Ollie, as well, we do see that strategy that was applied towards a zero line in the past. And yes, teams have been able to break it. When it first happened, it came out, we're like, how do you beat this? This seems so damn strong, but we saw great stuff from Moments on tanks, actually, who managed to break around it. So Anatolich will go first. He'll head straight down the hill and probably set up on the corner. And then, yes, we'll probably see the higher profile FV 4005 set up behind him. That is the kind of the framework of the normal attacking strategy we see lately on Himmelsdorf. However, Na'Vi have to know that the team they're playing against has a feel and has a read on what they're going to be doing here as well. You should always be expecting this now as well. If your Hellraisers up against Na'Vi, it's generally the highest percentage approach we've seen in recent times. So that light bulb there, Anatolich is lit. He's been spotted there by the enemy, but again, he expects this. He expects Nesqui to be watched in the corner, and Lev Shah was spotted also crossing over to A0. So this is Na'Vi being set up, but Hellraisers know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Obviously, we were talking a little bit about how both these 2 teams don't want to give so much away, just this being just the group stage, the first match of the group stage. But it kind of makes sense for Na'Vi. I mean, it's a solid tactic. It works. The other team only has to screw up once or twice to be able to, for them to be able to win it. So I'm not too surprised that Na'Vi's actually going for this one, thinking about it. Hellraiser's now pushing up in towards the attacking cap area, pushing up up on the hill. They're going to be pushing down at some point, trying to get themselves onto the back of that 113, which frees up the Waffentragers.
This is really interesting as well. Now, Kirilloi will at least be able to spot this out early. Na'Vi will have a chance to respond to it, or maybe even keep Hellraisers back. This puts Hellraisers in a bit of a risky position. If they're spotted up on the hill and Na'Vi realize, okay, boys, most of their forces up there, Na'Vi will hold Hellraisers off and go for a cap, or they will go for overmatch scenarios, 2v1s, 3v1s, on the remaining Hellraisers tanks that are defending. So Hellraisers don't want to make themselves visible so much right now. They want to see if there's someone being left back to spot them. They want to see if there's an opportunity to go for a pincer or a counter pincer, if that may be the case. And you see Montiablo here is being very, very careful not to show himself around the side of that church. He's crept up, and I think he's actually managed to get a spot on towards the 110E5 while he is also lit. But he's the only tank going forward here. Inspire and Lev Shah. That's
hashtag new physics.
I haven't seen that before, bro.
Yeah, I mean,
get sideways, man.
It's quite funny because actually at the season finals, Na'Vi did this. Na'Vi did this against NSS a little bit, and I didn't expect them to actually come up with something slightly more cheeky than that. But yeah, new physics, like you can put yourself anywhere, you can do barrel rolls, you know, backflips. And yeah, maybe Hellraiser haven't thought about it. This is the
We're
thing.
getting more MLG by the day, dude. I'm telling you. What is this? Anyway, Monty now, having spotted out Kirilloi, actually kind of brings the rest of Hellraisers along to the party as well. Gonna get some damage onto him, but Kirilloi wants to hold him in position here as well. They only need 25 seconds and Na'Vi will take the round by capturing. So they really need to push down this hill. The problem is that the rest of Na'Vi have turned their guns like, hello boys, we're gonna fire at you if you try and come towards us here. An innovative setup there at A7. Tank on its side. It can still fire, I think, with the... I don't know, actually, but there, Neagu got hammered there as well. Look at the backup for Na'Vi's capping tanks here as well. This is just so hard to break.
Yeah, and Hellraiser's lost a lot of HP, like 3,000 plus, and to be honest, they're not doing a particularly good job of actually getting the resets or doing the damage. Yes, Inspirable 4, but Lefshao's still safe.
Yeah, and again, he's sandwiched in between the hull of his dead teammate and the cap. Now, we did get reset mildly there as well. We need to see Hellraiser start to load high explosive ammo and just try and splash damage on towards him. But Nesqui and Neagu were getting wrecked by that setup there of Na'Vi, of Na'Vi, yeah, up on the hill. You can see they're trying to come forward. Neagu wanted to splash, comes forward, just gets completely sent packing there. Strake will be the one to deal that final blow. And now Hellraisers are kind of stuck on this hill. They can't interact with the cap, so they're running out of tanks to defend, and the rest of the cavalry is slightly delayed.
The thing is, I mean, if Hellraiser had, for instance, a T110E5 or even a slightly stronger tank, they would have been able to get the reset here. The problem is the standard tactic on this map, the standard positions on this map don't involve that. They involve the Waffentragers sending a backtrack quickly through to get the first reset. So they've just been absolutely creamed down that hill, and yeah, Na'Vi holding fast, but they are going to push in, but Apo gets cancelled.
Yeah, so Monty trying to pull some sick donuts down the hill and distract some attention maybe, but I don't think that's going to work. Rhino just wrecking people now as well. What a great finish to tank the Waffentrager E100. Lolvo's not going anywhere now. He's been kept up in that corner. Griffin wants to try and challenge, but no one's really getting solid resets. Now it comes in, but Hellraisers, they got nothing to defend with. The Na'Vi come out with a stunning attacking round here on Himmelsdorf. How the heck do you respond to that?
Unbelievable stuff from Na'Vi, and you know, we were talking about how perhaps these two teams won't give away too many tactics at this early stage, but with the new physics, it's not even that unusual. I mean, okay, surprising, it's the first time we're seeing competitive environment on 9.14, but I think we'll be seeing more of that kind of thing as we do progress through the Grand Finals 2016, and it makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest problem with that tactic pre 9.14 was the fact that you could get reset if the other team just committed to it. You know, they said, screw it, I'll receive the 750 damage from the T113 and then I get the reset. With that tactic with the E100, you can't get reset anymore. And if you do, it still doesn't matter because you're still going to be taking that cap down. And they'll have to commit all the way around the E100 to actually kill you effectively. So, good stuff from Na'Vi. Great stuff.
Play of the game. Let's slow it down, boys. Okay, so now you can do this in the game. I'd like to make a formal request to Wargaming. I know you can get improved hydraulics on your tank. I want that thing to bounce. I want that to be like a 1960s Corvette going down the street in San Francisco and bouncing up and down. That's what I want. I want me a Pitmobile in World of Tanks. If you can do that, it's only
hydraulics,
yeah, that'd
be great.
It's only a very short stretch, but
some tunes just blasting outside, maybe.
Absolutely.
Cap on backwards.
Absolutely. I mean, if any of the ladies as well want to join me on stage, they can just jump in the back. I'll get a jacuzzi. You can come too as well, I guess.
It's a World of Tanks, man. There's no ladies in this game. Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying. We have. Yes. Anyway, so okay, here we've really drilled that one home for you guys there as well. You can't even. Can you even really splash onto that position?
Yeah, you can. But the problem is, you have to sit there and load HE, and you've got like an FV's 005, which is 1,150 average, and you know, also can use Hesh with 1,750, and you got other tanks that's sitting behind, so you're going to get absolutely wrecked. As I said, you need to be having like a strong tank, like maybe a 113 of your own, or a T110E5, maybe an FV215B could also work. If not, the Badchat just got wrecked. The Waffentragers got completely cancelled out because they're massive. Anyone can hit them. Even, I don't know, the Kills could hit a Waffentrager if he wanted to. So it's an interesting tactic. As I said, I think more of that's going to come out. It kind of makes the attacking side on Himmelsdorf pretty hard to beat if you just go for that one. And honestly, it makes it more of a gamble. If you want to win against that tactic, you got to gamble. You got to push in.
Yeah, and we obviously saw a bit of struggle there as well for Hellraisers to really do damage in general. I mean, the Anatolish in the 110E3 as well, he was very much just a cornerstone piece here as well, sitting hull down on the corner, but solid damage coming in as well. No one could peek that. Strake as well, he came up to assist, of course, after the first tank accompanying the 1390 went down. Down the list as well, Levshar didn't really need to use his gun. Could even have just gotten rid of it and got his tank to that location quicker. But still, we just see Montiablo as well struggling as well, only 230 odd damage. I mean, look, this is it. This is not just a strong strategy from Na'Vi, but also Hellraisers not finding favorable trades, not finding positions where they can get damage and actually gamble that they can either bounce a shot or avoid it. It's tough when the enemy sort of knows where you're going to be or where you have to be. And Hellraisers trying to put himself on the hill. Good idea in theory, but as we kind of predicted, they were just held there and kept isolated from the rest of their team.
Yeah, I didn't really get that from Hellraisers. Maybe they thought that Na'Vi would actually push all the way down into the cap. And, you know, the thing is, at the end of the day, there's been like almost a month since the season finals for WRU. And Hellraisers obviously didn't play in that, so they have a week more than Na'Vi to train. So it's pretty obvious to me that Hellraisers knew that tactic could be performed. They won't have trained against Na'Vi, obviously. It makes no sense. They're the top 2 teams in the world. So, yeah, perhaps not too surprising. I think Hellraisers now have a chance on the attack. They haven't gone for that kind of lineup, so they won't be going for the same tactic. I think they'll be playing more of a standard kind of Himmelsdorf, going for those early spots with the Batchat.
Yeah, again, not a very heavy lineup at all. Maybe just going in for some sort of fight or maybe some vintage Himmelsdorf play around the edges of the main city. Let's see. Nesqui, of course, will be the man to be just trying to spot some stuff out. I love that you can do that now with the new physics engine. It's so sick. And Levshar as well, pretty much mirroring that route, I guess, on the other side of the map. He's got a Batchat pushed a little bit further than him, just seeing if Hellraisers are trying to get an aggressive start or an early start pushing over on towards the western side of the map. What I find interesting here, Ollie, is that they've got no presence towards a 6 through 0 line, so it's almost like they're not expecting strong hill presence from Hellraisers here.
No, I don't think they are. Looking at the lineup, it wouldn't make sense for Hellraisers to really push on the hill. They have an E100 to be able to play the positional game.
Yep.
They have an hold down tank to be able to hold down that B line. So a hill play would always be a gamble from Hellraisers. And at the end of the day, Na'Vi still have the T110E3 that can sit down in A4, B4. So I think for Hellraisers, I mean, they're just trying to get some early spots out, see if Na'Vi are going to go aggressive at the beginning. You can see the Waffentrager headed down towards the banana, the 8 line even, and is now heading back up towards the hill. Maybe trying to get some cross shots out, get the FVT-15Bs across. You can see there on Inspire's screen that they've only actually spotted that Batchat, and of course that was the tank that was just going for that early spot.
And what Inspire is actually doing is he can look through that building. There's a small break, or I guess, or an opening inside some of the wood planks and stuff that have fallen down. So he's got a very, very, very slim little opening where he can fire to the whole of the G line. So he himself can kick Na'Vi at bay for the most part here, and Monty again just pushing those physics to the limit. Not spotting anything here, interestingly enough. Now, normally you might see a Batchat sitting up on the corner of C8 generally, but he's seeing nothing at all. So again, you've got to say, all right, boys, they probably know that we're not going for the standard 0 line push because of our lineup. They could see that we didn't bring all these tank destroyers. So where do they go otherwise? Where would they set up maybe a bit of a cookie cutter defense? Maybe they know something we don't know. At this stage, we're just taking the time. Speaking of bananas, nice little camo there for the boys. I enjoy that. We only get to see the EU ones normally as well, so that's nice. So you can see what he's looking through. Just this almost pixel peak there for Inspire. It's pretty common. It's very well known by the pros that, again, it's just a hold down that line. And the amount of information you get is pretty filthy, actually, from just sitting there. It's quite safe as well.
Yeah, there's loads of little spots like that and well, the tanks you can actually use effectively in your own gameplay because, I mean, like 99.99999% of players don't actually realize that you can get shot through that building. Looks to me like Hellraiser's just testing the waters. That Batchat gone aggressive at the beginning, but hasn't really done too much since then. The 113 here hasn't been spotted, but to be honest, there's only 2 positions it could have been in C3 or A4. Bit of damage going to that Waffentrager. It's got to be careful on the hill because it doesn't have any armor to speak of at all, and if HE is loaded, you can also penetrate the front of that Waffentrager, no problem, and you'll get absolutely chunked down in no time. So I think for Hellraisers, the most logical move would to be kind of push through the middle, the 8 line, get a bit of control, try and take that, try and put the MX 3090 of Monty in the cap, and then just set up defensively for Na'Vi's push.
Can you sneak a 3090 in there without being splashed onto that cap?
Well, You can, but I mean, at the end of the day,
Na'Vi have a 183, so you're going to get splashed.
yeah, and well, to be honest, Na'Vi doesn't have an IS-4. You know, they don't have the greatest side-scraping tanks there, but yeah, the thing is you can get pushed around pretty easily anyway. Looks like Hellraisers, they've kind of gone with the Monty solution, pushing up the hill. They've seen that Monty can get control. They're going to push down, and obviously, you know, having been spotted so many times, the FE-T15 being spotting the Waffentrager, they know there's at least a couple of tier 10s for Na'Vi on that left side.
Yeah, look at Nesqui as well. He's like, there's a good chance that if Na'Vi have complete and utter control of that western side, which they know they sort of do, they could push in behind us. So Nesqui going to sit back and actually spot this one out, which is great. It's an early warning system as well. Now, Monty himself, pushing forward in that 1390, hasn't actually spotted a lot. It's actually what he hasn't spotted that is more giving a clear signal over towards Hellraisers where the highest percentage option is going to be. They don't seem to be super set in their ways. They don't even seem to be really confident about their approach in this one. They're just trying to play it safe, play it careful, and get themselves the ideal engagements. And you can see on the mini-map where Na'Vi are mostly spread out on that western side of the map, they're not really sure either what Hellraisers are doing, but they have an idea. They expect they're on the hill because, of course, they got that FE watching that G line. They'd know if there was someone trying to push the 8 line. So, again, just hedging your bets, and process of elimination should tell Na'Vi what Hellraisers are approximately doing.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, Na'Vi just has to let this time go down to 0, and they will win the game anyway, as they're on the defensive side. And we do see Hellraisers now pushing in with the FE-T15Bs. You'll probably see them get spotted right now. First shell does come out. Pretty low roll, actually a pretty standard roll there from the Waffentrager, and Rhino will be able to get a couple more.
Yeah, he's set up in a great spot. He knows that those tanks are going to have to come back past him as they do drop the hill, but they're now no longer spotted. You can see that Rhino can't see them. Tank destroyers can't spot very, very well for themselves. They normally rely on information gained by other scout tanks here. So Appleway now being lit. Has to be a little bit careful with that shot. Actually, from Rhino is going to go in towards that little hill, and again, another one missing. So this is Hellraisers getting away with this, pretty much getting away with murder now, getting themselves onto the 8 line, taking a bare minimum of damage that you probably expect to. Now they can set up. These streets are fairly close together, approximately square blocks, and they can work from both sides, I guess, of a building and try and get some sort of pincer or overmatch. But Hellraisers, they've gotten past their first hurdle. They're off the hill, they're in enemy territory. Now they need to set up and find a favorable situation, context, environment to fight.
Exactly, I think Na'Vi really didn't hit the couple of shells they had more, which they should have hit. There's a T110E5, which is side scraping here. Not the greatest side scraper. The side armor can get penetrated pretty easily. Monty in the cap now. And Apoel is just an absolute beast, the FE-T15B. He can just punch through the frontal glaciers, that T110E5, and the top copula as well very easily. And now Na'Vi really have to start to put a plan together. You've actually got a TVP and a bat chat for Hellraisers down south as well.
Again, they're going to be watching in case Na'Vi try and wrap around them, get control of maybe the heel or try and flank out. Or maybe just see if they can themselves get some sort of flank startup. But they're going to be running into a couple tanks here. You can see Strake and Levshar are just over the horizon, just around the corner, in fact, there as well. And if they can catch Levshar, it'll be great. But he's moving too fast to be caught now. Griffin going for Strake. Now, Griffin obviously only 4 shots. 2 left after that little engagement. Get some damage, and now Hellraisers know, okay, this is Na'Vi's smaller arm. This is their flanking arm. This is where they're set up. Can we still fight now? We know what they don't have in the north. Looks like they're going to do it anyway here as well. So there's engagements occurring on both fronts here. This little fight, and then, of course, in the north. Now, we do see Monty sneaking up and trying to cap. He probably still can get HE, some splash damage on towards him around the corner. But behind him is Appleway and Lolvo as well. They're going to punish whoever pushes around and tries to actually get in Monty's face and guarantee themselves some damage to reset.
And Griffin and Nesqui really need to find a good angle onto these two, because at the end of the day, they're 2 tier 10s, and there's a tier 8 there keeping them at bay. More damage going towards Hellraisers. I think TVP is starting to want to push in. He's down to about half HP, so he's got to be careful. And it's only a matter of time, actually. So you do see the AMX 1390 and the batch actually retreat back up the 3 line, trying to find another angle. And the thing in there for Hellraisers was just these 2 tanks. I mean, they're just providing support to the batch at the AMX 1390. Cap underway, and actually Na'Vi might just push around the corner and try and go for an overmatch.
They have to. I think Hellraisers have finally set up a situation which allows them to start this cap and force Na'Vi to make a move. That's a great situation to be in when you can set up and have an enemy push in. But Na'Vi, they're going to be bringing the big guns. We've got the 110E3 as well. Rhino's up the back. He's reloaded. He's ready to go. And actually, Hellraisers almost smell this out. They back away. Nesqui already in Strake being locked in a death stance over on that western side of the map. There's only a minute 20 here, and Hellraisers are running out of time and options.
Yeah, Nesquik down to a one-shot though, so is Strike. A good bit of damage there, and actually they're pushing through. A lot of damage going towards Nuclear.
That's it, Nuclear getting absolutely hammered down as well. And Na'Vi have good cover of this area. Nuclear's going to fall now. Who will step up? It might be Applewell to try and cross, but Rhino still has shots to go. But he's burned. He's been set on fire, and Lobo gets the finish. Now Griffin looking for Levshar as well. Would have one more shot to go. Strake is actually on reload, so Griffin will have reload quicker and can win that 1v1 at this stage. So Hellraisers could leave him, but Slide knows that. He knew he had to get rid of Griffin. He takes him down, and now Hellraiser's down to 4 tanks. It's a 4v5. Kirilloi getting aggressive on towards Montague. Can't do a whole lot in that situation. That's a very much a David Goliath scenario, except, I mean, David doesn't have a slingshot or anything. Nothing, really. Now, of course, we're going to see another push from Hellraisers, but they can get sandwiched here if they're not careful from the west. Near's backing away because he's got to reload, and that fight, not great for Hellraisers.
Sly just absolutely punishing Lovu in that FE215B183, an absolute beast of a tank. And yeah, Hellraisers with that shot have lost this game. It's going to be a 2-0 on Himmelsdorf for Na'Vi, surely.
Yeah, we didn't really talk too much about the FE215B183, but that thing is a Death Star. Literally, it hits so hard. One of the highest alpha damages in the game, of course, and Hellraisers can't stand up to that kind of defense. Na'Vi are going to put themselves comfortably ahead of this series, and Oliver, they're going to put themselves to match point here.
Unbelievable stuff for Na'Vi. I said they're the better team on Himmelsdorf. It does turn out that way with a pretty comfortable 2-0. You can see their way of playing was a lot more logical. I mean, they had that really good attacking round, was definitely the most important round for them. Defensively, you know, questionable. I think at the end of the day, I think Hellraisers, once they've seen Strike push forwards with the Batchat, Griffin should have just pushed in with Nesquik. They should have just gone for the pounce. The MX-3090 wouldn't be able to do a lot against those two tier 10s, and Strike would have fallen. Because later on, those two tanks actually are engaged on, but it's too late. You know, there's two tier 10s versus a tier 8 and a tier 10. And then they get sandwiched once they do get taken down. They actually lose that 2-on-2. Unbelievable stuff. And Na'Vi with the FE215B183 and the rest of the Waffentragers, easy push around and easy win.
Hellraisers, I mean, they took their sweet time in that last round as well. When they pulled off the cap the first time, as Monty was getting a bit nervous, they had about a minute 20 left. Now, what's the fix for them here as well? If we could go back in time, did they not leave themselves enough time? Is there another way that they could have approached that? Maybe even for a higher percentage, I guess, tilt at winning the game here? Because it seems like they kind of filtered in. They started off this cap, which looked good, but they seem to be so preoccupied by the threat to the south and the west of the extra tanks that Na'Vi had split off that they just couldn't focus on getting the cap done. Yeah,
and I think the cap is always a hard factor in this map. I think the MX-3090 being in that position is more just to force the other team to come forwards. Because the Apple had a bit of a beast of a round, 3,100 damage, Slide up there as well. He only had a couple of shots, and to be honest, that last 1.5k wouldn't have made a massive difference in the game. So he's technically a little bit lower than that, in my opinion in terms of the importance and the role he played in that round. But yeah, I mean, solid defensive round for Na'Vi. They played logically. They made sure that they provided crossfire, and that's a classic tactic for Na'Vi. They always provide crossfire for each other. There's no one ever in a position where they're unsafe, unsupported, or very rarely at least.
Looking pretty darn good here as well. You can see Monty wasn't supposed to do damage, however, Nesquik and Nuclear kind of were, and obviously sitting down that low on the list is a bit of a telling sign here for Hellraisers, and I guess, well, the writing's on the wall now, Oliver. It is going to be match point for Na'Vi, and this next map will be very, very, very important, I guess, if Hellraisers really want to. I mean, they'd love to come out of the group stages here with the win over Na'Vi, but again, they're going to have to take it to a tiebreaker to even get to that point. So not looking very likely here. And Na'Vi have been playing, with the minor hiccup, of course, we did see, in the first map, quite strong.
Yeah, the funny thing about this game is that this could be the last time we see these two play against each other until like the third, fourth place match, or even the finals. We get to see them at the start, and we might even get to see them at the end. So it could obviously...
It's a great way to set everyone's expectations at a certain level.
Yeah, but everyone else is thinking the same at home. But to be honest, I mean, they look pretty strong, both these two teams. Nothing unbeatable. I think there's probably like 3 or 4 other teams that can also contest them quite well. And of course, the North Americans also can do some damage here. They have a slight issue compared to the rest of them, is that they have a different format in the WGNA that can cause them problems. 4 rounds on each map. A couple of other rules in terms of the amount of tanks they can bring in around. And that actually might go against them. They've had some time to train. See if it's enough, but that's a story for another time.
No doubt about it. Potentially the last map in this epic clash is going to be Ghost Town.
Ghost Town. The first absolutely symmetrical map, made especially for 7 versus 7 games. The teams start the battle on opposite sides. There are numerous ways to attack here. One of the bases is located in the central square, the other one at the top of the city. The hardest battles are usually fought for the top base, and this calls for the use of heavy tanks. Sometimes the teams choose fast tanks for spotting and base capturing.
Ghost Town is going to be the last map here as well. And if you guys wanted a bit of a brawl, well, you're going to get it. This is definitely, I guess, the most similar map we've seen so far in this pool has been Himmelsdorf. We're definitely going to see these guys at one stage just have to get to grips with one another and get their hands dirty.
Yeah, I think Ghost Town is a real beast of a map. We see teams really not liking it. It's a bit like Marmite. For instance, Wombats have never played it. And other teams, of course, love it. And I'm definitely one of those people who loves this one. It's an interesting map, as you saw there. Symmetrical. Kind of gets unsymmetrized, if that's the word. I don't know if that's the word. Maybe it's in Australia. We've got some weird... Symmetricized. Yeah, let's just make up words. That's the first word we made up, folks. So we've done pretty well.
There'll be more.
So far. There'll be a lot more. But yeah, I mean, the issue is, of course, the caps. I mean, there's not just one in the middle. There's also one up towards the right. The northeast side. So
how does that skew this symmetry of it, though, aside from the fact there's a cap there?
I mean, it takes, for instance, if you're on the attack, it takes you shorter time to get there. That's why you often see teams go up there. Also, they can go hull down. You got some pretty good positions where you can sit around and actually get the other team to go forwards into your defensive capping strategy.
So there you have it. I mean, again, we're going to see these teams, they are going to go in for the kill eventually, but the setup is going to be very, very important on this one. I'm saying important a heck of a lot, but that's really me just trying to drive the point home here. Ghost Town, been a new map this year. Been really, really good to see how these teams play it out, made specifically for esports. And I tell you what, it's given us some great games here. Na'Vi coming in with 3 Waffentrager LP100s to Hellraisers 2.
And one of the most important things to keep in mind on Ghost Town is the RU251. Okay, on Himmelsdorf, sometimes we see it used effectively, but actually the tier 8 can provide not necessarily damage, but also just that annoying poking effect, which you see on this map. Very aggressive to start for a Na'Vi at the beginning, and same goes for Hellraisers.
So Levchar going straight forward here as well. I don't think he expected to run into this kind of fight, and unfortunately, he's a little bit outmatched. However, still staying fairly healthy as a Batchet going towards it, but Levchar might actually have baited Nuclear into a bit of a nasty situation. He will finally drop down. Nuclear gets back around the corner and safe, but Monty has to go forward to try and get out of the fire, I guess. Takes about 816 damage, and that trade, while it may have looked bad for Na'Vi, actually pretty darn good. They've got a tier 10 down to 600 odd health, and 251 has definitely seen better days, but now the fight continues. Near you pushing forward. You can see those Waffentragers really bring the pain. It's going to be Kirilloi falling pretty much straight away, and those Waffentragers are not done yet. Inspira taking yet another hit, and another, and the hits just keep on coming from Hellraisers, who were in position to do damage and not take too much in response. They got a great little crossfire going.
Hellraisers are really starting to push away with this match. They're doing such good damage. They got great crossfire, as you mentioned, onto Na'Vi. They pushed them down into this lower basin area. Rhino does dispatch of Nesqui, but it's a short comparison, and you can see Hellraiser starting to dwindle a little bit, actually. HP starting to go down. Rhino finds another.
That's it, and we're going to see Lovo push around the corner. Near you actually took his food off his plate, but there's only 3 tanks left now for Na'Vi, and you can see that Strake is looking a little bit beleaguered at this stage. It's going to be Applewau and Lovo push around the corner. Is there a crossfire? Yes, but Rhino's on reload. He can't do a thing, and Anatolich here has 4 shells to go, and these need to hit true if they want to try and slow down the Hellraisers, but I don't think so. They got a great flank, and this is what Hellraisers are good at doing, being adaptable, getting good angles to start these fights. You can see the Anatolich had no choice, Ollie, but to go forward in that situation. He needed to buy time for Rhino to reload, and he's still not reloaded, and it's already too late.
Yeah, that 1 minute reload of the Waffentrager can definitely bite you in the behind at some point in time in a match. And you actually saw a kind of swing back into Na'Vi's favor once Hellraiser's Waffentragers actually went on reload after that initial bit of damage onto Inspire and Kirilloi. And Rhino is left to the Wolves.
He will fall down. What an interesting round for the very first moment of Levchar uncovering a couple of those Hellraisers tanks lying in wait, and then the ensuing firefight. It really did seem like Hellraisers had a lot of control. Their Waffentragers did so much damage earlier on, and Spyro got completely blown up there. I mean, Na'Vi not looking maybe as cool, calm, and collected as they had over the last few rounds, and they're just 1 round away from winning, yet Hellraisers keep themselves in it.
Yeah, the most interesting point there for me was we kind of said, okay, maybe Hellraiser's taking the bait, but it's actually the other way around. So the 35-second reload in the bat chat went forward, didn't have the reload in time to take down that
wasn't even loaded in
RU251
the first place.
Exactly. Monty definitely makes the right decision to take down the RU251 because it would have been a right pain and it would have just been able to sit in that corner and, you know, you would have had to take care of it at some point in time. It would have been annoying to deal with. But then you see Na'Vi decide to push into the middle area. Maybe a little bit scared of like the 400, 800 damage they'd receive from behind, perhaps predicting that Hellraiser would just push around. But it wasn't. The Waffentraggers were just behind the RU251 Monty and the Batchat. They just pushed around, absolutely smacked Inspire into the ground, and that was basically game over. They received like 3,000 damage in no time at all. You can see it here.
Yeah, and this is where they really start coming forward here, and straight away, Kirilloi is caught out. It's like, okay, crap, something's happening. I'm pretty sure he gets tracked up in a few moments here, but it doesn't matter. Look, so much damage coming away. You can see from 2 directions he's being shot. And it's just not the kind of crossfire you ever want to be sat in the middle of. I can't think of one you would, to be fair. But again, Inspire doesn't last much longer either. There's still shots coming in from both sides. He's trying to hug the left side so it doesn't get wrecked, but still, look at the damage. These Waffentraggers will really punish you if you get caught out of position.
Exactly, they're just absolute beasts. And then we see them actually going a reload. Na'Vi's Waffentraggers get into the battle a little bit, and there's some issues there. But you can see Griffin, 3.2k, hits all the shells,
so
easy as you like, even a couple more on top once he got the reload. Apo out there as well with the FE215B, consistently good damage. That's what you want from that British tier 10 heavy tank. And yeah, as you've seen quite often in these rounds, the the team that loses obviously just doesn't do a lot of damage, especially when Hellraisers go aggressive. They went aggressive on what was it, the second map? I think they went aggressive on Ruinberg, pushed in very effectively, and then they go aggressive on this one, kind of catch them out, go aggressive on mines, and it works well.
And just an update for you guys as well on the other stream. Kaznaku and Tornado Rocks currently 4-3 in Tornado Rocks' favour, and they're midway through a map on mines here as well. So apparently Tornado as well got up onto the hill on mines from the south without using the middle. So hashtag new physics, hashtag get sideways.
Yeah, you can get boosted up. I mean, the thing is, boosting is definitely not as effective as it used to be, but it's a lot easier to traverse up steep edges. There's not like any clipping that happens. There's no weird positions where you can get stuck on. You just go full pelt into a pretty steep incline, and you can just go up it. You just use the momentum. The physics are a lot more realistic, and it does work well. So, yeah, I mean, match point still for Na'Vi, but that's just a fact of after going Himmelsdorf 2-2, we expected Na'Vi to be the better team on Himmelsdorf. It's still going to be a close next round here on Ghost Town.
No doubt about it. We can see that there's a markedly higher success rate for Hellraisers when they go as a team, when they keep everyone in one place, just like we saw then, and they're able to fire out as a team. It seems to be something that works for them quite well. Let's jump in now as well. It's still match point. Na'Vi still 1 round away from winning, or will it be Hellraisers to take it to a tiebreaker? They're going to be attacking in the red. Yeah,
let's see if they can actually get the job done and dusted. Hellraisers kind of on the back foot, but I think they can be effective in the next one. They look pretty strong in that first one. Nuclear going for a little bit of a left side push down south, trying to find a bit of early information, gets themselves into some semi bushes. Obviously, some bushes provide more camo than the others. Definitely, you can see in terms of the vigil how thick they are. Na'Vi just pushing up in the north. They also have a batch that's out in a different position, and pretty slow stuff from both teams at the start, at least.
Yes, and you can see from the first-person view, some people like to just turn down their graphics and play pixel tanks. So,
yeah, I mean, if you're playing with a calculator the first few years of your World of Tanks career, and then suddenly you're like getting thousands of dollars from the game, you buy a new PC, it's still going to be better on pixel.
That's right. You want to set it back to what your original settings are. We see a lot of guys playing window mode for the same reason as well. So, 8 minutes still on this one. Obviously, they're 10-minute rounds, like the 7 we used to see here, and so far it's a fairly slow approach for Hellraisers. I'll give them this. They vary the pace between rounds quite expertly, Hellraisers do. Sometimes slow as heck, sometimes super aggressive, and Lolvo really embodying the former here as well. Just taking his sweet time as Shah's right in the back. He's just going to want to try and set up. Didn't really talk too much about tank picks here as well, but nothing crazy. We've got 2 RU251s, 215Bs for a lot of people as well. Pretty much the same lineups on both sides.
Yeah, both teams just going for a little bit of a mirror. Pretty hard for both teams to actually be able to get into better positions here. Damage going across now, actually Strike not going for the shot against the Waffentrager, so see if he goes for it. Does get spotted finally, but he's still got into that very crucial position where he can just poke out and take down any tanks when his other team actually goes for the flank, then the rest of the team goes for a flank. And see if he does do that. Strike just obviously very cool, calm, and collected. And looks like Hellraisers trying to get control of this southern area. They have been kind of pushed into this position a little bit. You've got to be careful they don't lose these early peaks.
Yeah, and these little corners, especially towards this bottom part of the map that Slide's looking towards, are very important. Off to the left of the screen, there's actually a little ramp that lets you take higher grounds. We often see teams play almost on 2 levels sometimes around the, I guess, the middle of the map that's almost on its own platform. So you don't really want to commit too deep to the middle. There's so many different ways you can be shot, but these guys are setting up for definitely a big explosive finish here. It's one of those rounds you see both teams build into what I kind of call a critical mass, where they get in position, they set up, and then someone pulls the trigger. It doesn't matter what team it is. And then it's on for young and old. So we really see teams bring out the mechanics, those expert brawling ability that we've seen from both these guys in the past is really going to be put to the test. Griffin now needs to be a little bit careful. You can see he's just giving up some ground and backing up because he knows that he's at risk of being surrounded. Quite a few of these Na'Vi tanks getting in position are being spotted. So despite shots not being fired, both these teams definitely keeping tabs on one another. Strake as well, he's way back in the bottom corner now. Just in a position to get those flanking shots as well, especially if we're going to see Hellraisers use the southern road as well. He's going to be in a great spot to punish them pretty much safely.
Yeah, it's one of those rounds here on Ghost Town where the two teams kind of shimmy up against each other. They kind of creep themselves into position, get very close, and just kind of just push around the corner. They go for those overmatches and see if that happens. It doesn't look like it's going to happen with Kirilloid and Anatolik.
So they're going to try and get the 2v1 at least on him here. But where's the response going to be from Hellraisers? There it is, near you, off towards the side, smashing it towards Kirilloid. He's going to go damn low, but he quickly able to get the finish here. Na'Vi taking a fair bit of damage for that one, but they're returning it almost tenfold at this stage. Nesquik going to drop down. Hellraisers already having lost 2. Griffin trying to hold his own there. He's got 2 shots. That's enough to kill Kirilloid, and that's why he's backing up slightly, letting Anatolis take the shots. There's also a tank set up in towards the front of them, so Kirilloid has to stay alive. Keeping that gun in the game is very, very important. A 1 health tank can still kill a full health tank if you play it right. Now Rhino starting to respond to this. This is a very close one. This is going to be a drawn-out brawl, but Monty's getting chunked down. Great shot by Strake, though, as well. He gets rid of Monty in the north side. Nuclear as well is looking quite low, and now here comes the renewed engagement, the second line fight.
Oh, Anatolik actually misses that shell against Griffin. He can actually go pretty low here. Lovu also in the background with a lot of HP.
And Anatolik now just trying to stand in front, block shots. He knows he has low health teammates behind him. He needs to keep them alive, so he's going to take the brunt of the damage right now, and he does. But there's not really enough coming back from Na'Vi in the last few seconds. However, they were already at an advantage before going into that fight, and now Rhino gets to flank, and this is just perfect. He's got another shot. He's going to be on reload after this and may well fall to this 215B, but he's done his job. It's now Hellraisers are about to fall. They're going to capitulate, and Na'Vi should take this game away. Only about 300 health left. The Nuclear is just on borrowed time now. What a great way to kick things off in our first main stage game. Na'Vi will take the victory 5-2.